as much as I also want to share the joy that is there, I want anyone to know listening that it is possible to have that joy, but we first have to acknowledge the pain that we're going through. I wouldn't be able to be sitting here feeling as good as I feel inside had I not gone to the depths of how crappy I felt on the inside.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have an appreciation for how I feel now.
Everyone you meet every single day is fighting a battle you may know nothing about. We're all in the process of overcoming. I'm Justin Wren, and my story has been heard by millions of people through my book, my TED Talk, podcast interviews, TV shows, professional fighting, and my foundation, Fight for the Forgotten. I believe we are all overcomers if we choose to overcome. We all have the option. I've been given the opportunity to overcome childhood trauma, sexual abuse, immense bullying, depression, suicidal ideation, substance use disorder, and I am a 2-time suicide survivor. We are here to have conversations with some of the greatest minds of our time. Get ready to be inspired and to receive the tools and game plan to win this fight called life. Thank you for being here, for showing up for yourself. You, me, we have overcome 100% of our darkest days. I'm not done yet, and neither are you. This is your invitation to overcome.
Here we go. Vasavi, I'm so grateful that you're here.
I am so happy to be here, Justin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. We've had a great conversation already.
We've already got a good start.
We've talked about lots of things.
Yeah, lots of things. And
we know each other well now.
yeah, and I'm holding a magazine, Austin Woman.
Yes, from May of this year.
May of this year. You're on the cover.
Yes, I am.
It's a 10-page spread.
Yep.
I mean, this is pretty special. And you did say right before we started, this landed you the second.
I'm proud of you from my
proud of
mother.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she said, I don't know what you do for a living, but I'm very proud of you. I was like, okay, thanks, Mom.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get into that. What do you do for a living? But to set it up a little bit, I know some about your background. Like, we can relate on, I grew up getting very heavily bullied. And you living in Long Island, is that right? Growing up there, going to a predominantly all-white school.
Yeah.
You grew up getting very heavily bullied. But then to fast forward, I think you got a master's degree at Hofstra for special education.
Yep.
Another master's maybe from Columbia.
Yeah, no big deal, Ivy League.
Yeah.
That's just how we do it as Indians, you know.
And there it was social work,
Yes.
right? And you're a licensed therapist. And so that's all really incredible things. What that shows me is you've kind of experienced that pain and then wanted to help others in their pain.
Yeah.
And kind of the purpose of the shows of Overcome is it's a mental health podcast, but me being a fighter, going through some of the things I've gone through, we really want to highlight people's stories of what they've had to rise up and overcome. But I know you want to cover a lot of the joy. You know, you've gone through pain, but now there's so much joy in your life. And I think we can share and talk a lot about that, you know, that yes, life can be painful and we'll always be overcoming some of life's greatest challenges, but there's a lot of joy and it gets better.
It does get better, and if I'm being completely honest, which I will be, is that it got worse before it got better, right? Like, I don't think I would have been able to experience the type of internal joy that I feel and the internal love that I have for myself had I not experienced the self-loathing. Like, there are too many times that I can count where I would look up at the ceiling and be like, can I just hang myself from this fan? What is it going to take for me to just take my own life? Oh, I'll just go to Lowe's and I'll get a rope and I'll come. I mean, my uncle killed himself. And I know I just went there and it got really dark real quick. But as much as I also want to share the joy that is there, I want anyone to know listening that it is possible to have that joy. But we first have to acknowledge the pain that we're going through. I wouldn't be able to be sitting here feeling as good as I feel inside had I not gone to the depths of how crappy I felt on the inside.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have an appreciation for how I feel now.
Would you say there was a point where you just had to face it all and feel it all?
I've had to face it multiple times, but I would say the 2 times that I've had to face it was the first time that I went to rehab. I didn't have anything. Like, my parents made me go. They're like, well, you have no money. You just had a miscarriage. You are with this awful boyfriend who has completely, you know, brought you down to your knees in a way, you know, and you have to go to rehab. So I went to rehab because they made me, and, you know, made me. I say that because, and also I had nothing left, right? So I was like, fine, I'll go. And then, you know, 7 months later, I relapsed because I still hadn't solidified my relationship with God. I was still making this man in my life God. I didn't have that anchor for me, my higher power. So that was the first time. Second time was when I went back to rehab again, March of 2019. I was standing in the kitchen. I was talking to my mother, and she goes, I want you to go take a drug test. Like, she just knew, right? Because moms know everything. And I'm 35. How old was I? Like 35, 36. And I'm in the kitchen saying to my mom, how dare you ask me to take a drug test? Which is like, she has every reason, because she knew that I was lying. And I hung up and I said, I just had a moment with myself, Justin. I was like, I'm done with this chaos. I'm done lying. I'm 36 years old. I'm standing in the kitchen arguing with my mother about whether or not I should take a urine test. I'm done. And so I just called my mom back and I said, I'm going to go to rehab. And so she just knew. She just knew that I'd been lying. So, that time I actually chose to make the change. I was done with the chaos. It wasn't because anyone told me to or anything. It was because I was done with the chaos. And so now I'm 3.5 years sober from cocaine.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge.
But many times over, I think like those are the two pivotal moments, but I've had times in the past 2 or 3 years where I've had to really evaluate myself in relation to my partnership. So it's like I had to really look at who I was being and what I was accepting in all of my relationships. And what I realized is that I was the most toxic person in my life. It's so easy to blame our parents. It's so easy to blame our partners or the government or society or whatever. But it's like I was the most toxic person in my life. So I had to deal with me first and foremost. Yeah.
Whenever you say internal joy, does that mean maybe before you went through these big changes that you were looking for external joy, like outside of yourself instead of just finding it inside? Yeah,
absolutely. So I've lived most of my life in the past so that. And so here's what I mean, okay? So I make this distinction. I rarely did things for me. I did things so that. Here's what I mean. So now I work out every single day, right? I love working out. I'm addicted to just those release of endorphins. I need that dopamine hit. I need that because I don't use drugs anymore. So I need something to make me feel good, right? But in the past, I would work out so that a man would find me attractive, so that I was sexy, so that a man would give me attention. I don't do that anymore. I work out for me. I work out so I feel good. And I realize how much of my actions and how much of how I showed up and the words that I spoke and what I wore and the things that I did were always so that somebody else would appreciate me. So I was trying to find my sense of self-worth or joy from external sources. And I just don't do that anymore because it led me down a very dark path.
How big of a paradigm shift has that been?
It's huge. I just want to say, I'm 40 now. I just turned 40 in May. I feel like I'm back to being my 24-year-old self. I mean, I didn't know shit at 24, okay? Like what I know now, because I didn't have my ass handed to me at 24 like I did in the past 16 years. But I have that energy and that confidence that I had when I was 24, like before I got married and all that. I was just so like, yeah, I could do anything. And then life happens. You get divorced, you get into these relationships with people who just serve you breadcrumbs and you take it and you abandon yourself and you betray. And then you can't even look at yourself in the mirror anymore, right? So how much of a paradigm shift? It's like how I feel, maybe you can relate to this, how I feel on the inside. And like when I look in the mirror and I see myself, I've always known that this is how it should be for me. But it's like I didn't fully step into it. Like I didn't believe it. I was afraid of fully owning this much joy because I spent much of my time living in my suffering because it's, you know what I mean? So I was like, this feels weird. When is it going to end? Is it all going to go away? So for me, I was the only thing getting in my own way because I was so terrified that if it got too good, then it would all just go away. And so instead of letting things happen to me, I would be the cause of my own suffering. It's like, no, you're not going to have power over me. I'm going to have power over me and I'm going to be my own self-saboteur. Right. But it's been a huge shift for me. It's like I've always known that this is the truth of who I am and how I feel is like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel when you admire yourself, when you respect yourself, when you trust yourself. I just needed to allow myself to feel this way.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, you were busy studying all these things and getting these degrees
Yes.
in how to do it.
And yeah, I mean, I always jokingly say, who ends up being a therapist? The most toxic people are the therapists. It's like, I'm choosing a path where I'm helping you with your emotions. It's like, hello, girl, look at yourself. So, I mean, I always joke about that, but I chose the paths that I chose and played the roles that I played because that's what I wanted. I wanted someone to listen to me, right? I'd been in therapy since I was 12 years old. I know the power of saying it out loud. I know the power of having someone just deeply listen to you. I didn't have that myself, so I became that for other people. But I just wasn't that for myself. And now I'm that for myself. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's very apparent because you can tell you have that confidence and that joy
Yeah.
and kind of just that you have this knowing of who you are.
Yes.
And I think oftentimes you meet people and, you always want to always give people the benefit of the doubt and everything else, but you sometimes see it come up in conversation, like this person doesn't really know who they are and they're trying to almost be a chameleon-like, right? Where, what do you want me to be? And I'm going to find out some things about you so I can become that so that you'll accept me, that you'll accept me.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, I think what would be really interesting is hearing part of your journey of you even saying, I've heard it also said sometimes therapists need the most therapy. And,
oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we
like
do.
That, yeah. But where do you think some of those greatest points of pain came from that then now you've been able to heal from? And then because of your story, you're helping others heal from their similar trauma.
Well, I recently restarted therapy for myself. And one of the things that has surfaced, and I think I had locked it away for a very long time, but now I'm going to share it here on this podcast with you. I think it really started from a young age where I just couldn't fix my parents. I mean, it really did. I grew up with a mom who, they're both immigrants. They both came to this country, right? And in the 70s. And it was very hard for them because, we grew up in an all-white town. I mean, my mom was a cardiologist. My father was a CPA. And, their names are Shanti and Geeta. They're not, Justin and Amy. You know what I mean? I'm just being straight up. It's not easy being in this country when you don't look like everybody else. And so they're just frustrated and they would fight all the time. And for a young child having to play therapist between her parents, it's not a good look, But I would say when I think about the thing that has brought me the most pain in my life is that I could never just see my parents happy with each other. It was always like I always had to get in the middle, and I felt like I had to save my father, protect my father. We had to walk on eggshells around my mother. And I know a lot of people go through this. I'm not the only one who's had to deal with bickering parents or like parents who get divorced. But for some reason, it just had this profound effect on me because I just played the role of the parentified child from a very young age. At the age of 4, no one should be mediating their parents' conflict. But that's the role that I played. The role that I played was, what do I need to do? It's actually making me emotional thinking about this. It's like, what do I need to do to just keep the peace? What do I need to do to make sure everyone's okay? So when you do that enough times, you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly how to be a chameleon. What do I need to do to not rock the boat? Oh, I dismiss my needs. Oh, it's no big deal. No problem if it's an inconvenience, as long as you're happy. And that, can lead to and does lead to addiction, mental health issues, toxic, all the things that I've been through, right? But that's where the source of my pain has come from. And I'm very open with my mom and dad. I love them very much. I wouldn't be who I am without both of my parents. I love them extremely. And I no longer blame them. I see them as two people who didn't get the chance that I got, which is to be able to work on myself, to be able to go to therapy and go to retreats and do all these, just like do the stuff that I had to do to heal myself. I was just talking about this with a friend. It's like, it's sad when you're feeling really good and you still see the suffering of your parents. You're like, man, they're not going to be able to experience that in this lifetime. So all I hope is that I can be a source of happiness for them, But yeah, that definitely does bring something up because, I've always been that hopeful, hopeless romantic that's just always wanted that. I just wanted that love. And I kept trying to fix my parents through the relationships that I sought after. And now I'm at a place, and I was just telling this to Amy, it's like, I am the one. I'm calling in the one, but I got to be the one first for myself. And if that means I got to be lonely for a little bit or alone, let me use a different word. If I have to be alone for a little bit, so be it. Because what I don't want to do is bleed all over somebody else again. I don't want all my wounds to hurt another person again. And so I'm just focusing on myself right now.
This episode of Overcome with Justin Wren, that's me, and Amy sitting over here, is brought to you by Onnit. Onnit.com/overcome. And what did we have for breakfast this morning? Because we were running a little late.
What have I had every day?
Since
really
we got
are
'em?
The Onnit protein bites, which I think are
Protein bites
new.
are delicious.
And I think I'm addicted. I love them.
incredible.
I love that there's 6 grams of protein, so I can grab 2, and I feel really good about it.
Yeah, and they're small. They're small, but they're bites, bite size.
Bite size for
They're
you,
bite-sized,
maybe,
fun
but
size.
I can take probably 6 bites in them.
Yeah.
And so it's
Well,
about
it's just
the
not
size.
a huge protein bar that's hard to carry
Right.
around. Like
Right.
you can pack it in your purse, or your fanny pack. You can carry it around, and you know whenever you need it, you got a little pick me up, and you're not going to be hungry. It's like a hunger buster.
It
but not
is.
from Dairy Queen, from Onnit.
Right, that you
And-
feel good about with
Yeah.
6 grams of protein in every one.
Right, and I love their cookies and cream. That one's been my favorite. S'mores been really good. but I
S'mores
know
has been
they
my
have-
favorite.
Really? I like the
Yes.
cookies and cream more. But s'mores is really, really good. And so what else do they have? They have peanut butter dark chocolate.
They do. They have coconut cashew with dark chocolate,
That one's
cookie
good.
dough with dark chocolate.
That one's
Somebody
good.
likes dark chocolate, and I appreciate that. And can we add that they're all gluten-free? So
Yes,
for you in
I
particular, it's-
have to have that because I am celiac. If you didn't know that, I am gluten intolerant, and not just intolerant, I literally have celiac. And so I get sick from a lot of the stuff on the market that's processed in a manufacturing facility with this, that, or the other. And on its stuff, you just know that you're getting the highest quality ingredient imaginable, possible on the market. And then you're going to feel great. You're going to feel great about what you're eating and any of the products.
It includes more than 60 different plants. It's high in fiber and good flavor, along with that good source of protein.
Yeah. So try yourself some of these protein bites. They're so good for you. I think they might even be available at Walmart right now, but they're available on Amazon. They're available on its website. So please go get it there and use Overcome as the code to save yourself some money. Thank you for being here, and we will now return to the show. Well, while you do that, focus on yourself. Maybe, from a very educated therapist, what would you say is the difference between someone that, the difference between alone and lonely? Because are you 40 now?
I'm 40 now, yeah.
40 now.
Yeah.
And so society might put pressures or whatever,
Yeah.
and you might feel like I'm already supposed to be married or this or that or whatever. And so maybe you can dive into that a little bit where it's like, hey, I am being the one for me. So
Yeah.
I'm not, even one is in alone, right?
Yeah.
So while you're alone, how do you have that peace and almost like fulfillment in yourself compared to being lonely?
Yeah, I love this question. So I've had to learn how to be alone the second time I got sober, right? Second time I got sober, I was like, okay, I am going to do this. I'm going to be sober. And I'm also going to be emotionally sober. It took me a while. It's taken me 3.5 years, I think, since then to really feel like, okay, I enjoy my own presence. For me, the biggest thing that I had to do was get back in touch with my body. I've often dissociated most of my life. So I'll be sitting here, but I'm actually floating over here. That's just a coping mechanism that I've used from a young age to just not have to feel much in my body. I would just float. For me, really being consistent with my habits, with my rituals, being kind to myself. And the one thing that I preach and teach, and I'm writing a book about called Say It Out Loud, is I talk to myself. This is how I am not lonely when I'm at home, because at least I know somebody's listening. So how can I really be lonely when I'm talking to myself? So if I had a camera following me around at home, you'd see me talking to myself. If I have a decision I have to make, I say it out loud. If I'm angry, I scream it out loud. If I'm sad, I say it out loud. And so I've become the mother and the father to myself that I didn't have. This is why I'm no longer lonely. Do I have moments where I'm like, it would be so nice to have a cuddle buddy right now? Absolutely. But I've also had enough experience what it's like to be with someone and still feel lonely in their presence.
Yeah.
And I refuse to do that to myself ever again. I have a golden retriever. I'm set. You know what I mean? She's amazing. She's 12 years old. Lainey, we love her. But I've just had to learn just to be with the discomfort of being with myself and ask myself, what is it about me that I can't be with? And I realized there were parts of me that I was just putting up with, that I was just tolerating, right? It was especially when I noticed I had some emotional perfectionism, right? Where some emotions were okay. Happiness is okay. Joy is okay. A little bit of sadness is okay, but I shouldn't get angry. I shouldn't get irritated. I shouldn't get frustrated because that's, no one wants to deal with that. I started to be okay and start dialoguing with the parts of myself that were irritated, that was frustrated, because it's like, how can I expect somebody to want to be with all of me when I can't even be with all of myself, right? How do I expect my partner to be with my frustration when I'm frustrated with my own frustration, right? So I created a safe space for myself internally and in my home.
Wow. I really like that.
Thank you.
So I can relate. I've been to treatment twice.
Oh, I did? Okay.
Yeah. And
for what was
for
your
drugs.
Oh.
Pretty much anything.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're like a smorgasbord.
Yeah, smorgasbord.
Okay. Got it.
Why pick one when there's
Yeah,
so many?
I mean, come on.
Like,
World
there's so
is
many
your
to
oyster.
enjoy.
And you can throw other things in there, your phone, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So,
all the addictions.
Yes.
All the addictions.
Yes. I mean, it was mostly Oxycontin, and then after that it was weed, but lots and lots of everything. And I would jump from one to another to try to pretend like I didn't really have one singular problem. Mm-hmm. So after my first time at treatment, once I relapsed, then I jumped into all the psychedelics because, at times it was advertised as things that would heal your childhood trauma, which I think it can help with that, or PTSD, but also a danger zone would be people advertising it as a cure for addiction, or at least healing for addiction. And I had a real, if not a come to Jesus moment, like a come to myself moment where it was like, is another drug going to fix my drug problem?
Yeah.
Is a substance going to fix my substance abuse problem? And so many in that place, in that culture of psychedelics, like I think it can help someone that maybe is a moderate to hard user, but not a real deal addict. That's the danger zone. You're giving an actual addict more substances. Like they're just going to now use this and try to morph it, running the show or being the actor, like trying to show that, see, this is okay in this setting.
That's what we do. We justify.
Handle it. Yeah, justify all that stuff. But anyways, to say that, I was saying, just going back to your story of the lone and lonely and really with your parents, seeing those emotions come up that you would say are okay, even saying happiness is okay, that makes sense because it feels good. And joy, that feels good.
Yeah. And
sadness, you're very empathetic in your craft and all in life, being there for your mom and dad at 4 years old. So sadness, that might be something that you say is okay.
Yep.
Because you can be there for them, you can be there for yourself. But maybe it was anger that would set you off in the home, seeing that from your mom to your father or whatever it is. And so how did you find and discover speaking out loud, saying it out loud to yourself? And in those moments, do you go back and forth? Do you look at yourself more like a mother to yourself, father to yourself, or coach to yourself, a friend to yourself, or is it kind of just whatever you need in that moment?
This is such a good question. I actually talk about this in my upcoming book. Look at me in my upcoming book. Say it out loud. Get on the wait list. But I will say this, that when I was a kid, I actually write about this in the book. When I was a kid, I'd watch my father get ready for work, and he'd be combing his hair with Brill cream, which is a hair mousse or hair gel. And my father would talk to himself in the mirror, and he'd say, "Aren't I so handsome? Today's going to be a great day." And he would talk about himself, and I would look at him, and he would talk and admire himself. He was not a narcissist in that way. He wasn't just like, but he would talk to himself, and I would watch my father play tennis, and this is why I play tennis now. But anytime he missed a shot, he'd be like, "Come on, Shanti." His name is Shanti. Yeah. So my father just talked out loud to himself, and I just thought that was awesome. Like, wow, you can talk to yourself, right? And then also, I'm really blessed that I started therapy when I was 12 years old. So I actually dedicate my book to my first therapist, Virginia.
It's awesome.
Yes, because I learned that, hey, I could sit in a room with somebody, tell them exactly how I feel, and they won't judge me. And, I may need to pay them to listen to me, but I'm safe and I can say what I need to say. So I started learning how to talk to myself out loud when I was a kid, like 5, 6, 7, watching. And I spent a lot of time alone in my life. Like I didn't really have a lot of friends growing up. My parents worked. My older sister would be doing her thing. So I would talk to myself when I was frustrated, when I was sad, and I could just hear the voice in my head that'd be like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. Or the voice of, nobody cares about you. Like we have so many different voices in our head. It's no surprise that, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 19 years old. I was told that, I was mentally ill and needed to be on medication for the rest of my life. I haven't been on meds in 3 years. I'm chilling. I'm good. But when I talk to myself, I have to first allow my ego voice, like the one that's angry, the one that's critical, the one that's, I am ruthless when I'm angry. I let that voice come out. I unfiltered and I unedited just say how I feel out loud completely. And then I pause and then I allow the other voice, which I like to think is the sage voice. It's the voice of God. We have that more rational voice. So when I say it out loud, I can transcend that ego viewpoint, right? So if I'm out loud saying, I don't like Justin. He's so like this and he's so like, oh, whatever. Oh, I don't like, why is he staring at me right now? What's this problem? If I'm saying that out loud, I can pause and hear that and be like, and then tap into this other part of me that's like, is he really a bad guy or is this just you maybe in your stuff? Maybe you're having a bad day. You haven't even, gotten a chance to get to know the guy. I don't actually feel this way about you.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I've done this in relationships. I've done this when I feel like a friend isn't giving me the attention that I want or I'm not being treated in the way that I should be. I will say it out loud because left inside of your own mind, they all feel so true. Which voice is real, right? So when you say it out loud, whatever it is, you can feel it. Is this really the truth or is this just my wounded ass self right now? And I'm very real with myself. And it's like, is this me coming from my wounds or is this the highest version of myself that I can be speaking from?
Yeah. And since you're working on a book, say it out loud.
Yeah.
When would that be coming out? Do you know yet?
Yeah. The book is coming out May of 2023. I signed with New World Library. They also published Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome.
Good company.
Congratulations.
I'm in good company. Yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
But maybe we can, because you're probably working on this, what is the difference or what's the power that comes from saying it out loud? Because there's so many cultures and spiritual ways that say, hey, don't just think it or, speak it out loud. And with that, whether it's scripture or whatever it is, like speak it out loud. And I know from being an athlete, like you'll see guys like Muhammad Ali or Conor McGregor or other guys that are seen as sometimes seen as brash and not humble and cocky or these kind of ways, but in other ways, so confident that they're able to speak it out loud before it ever happens. Muhammad Ali saying, I said I was the greatest before I even knew I was.
Wow.
And things like that. So I think there is a difference. And oftentimes I might not give myself the permission to say it out loud. Maybe in competition, I do. I'm a professional fighter.
Yeah.
And
even now? Are you
wow. Yeah. So I'll say my goals, things like that, but sometimes not too much because I don't want to be seen as cocky or arrogant or this or that. But to myself, I'll coach myself, especially with fight week, day before, visualization drills. But oftentimes I'm in my head, like going to a float tank and doing the visualization in there. But I think it would be even more powerful, whether it's for competition or just like self-talk.
Yes.
Because I got trapped in a loop. I was very bullied growing up, and at 13 years old, bullied in front of the whole school, and my middle school crush, and then the two popular kids, they basically said, I can't believe you thought you were good enough to come to my party. I was the only one that dressed up for a costume party, and it was a winner was going to get a prize. No one else dressed up. It was only me. And it was even on the invitations, everything else. So my middle school crush crushed me, and next to her, a guy named Tyler said, you're worthless. And the guy that organized the whole thing shared my name, named Justin, said, you should just kill yourself.
Jesus.
So for 20 years, from 13 to 33, 13 suicidal the first time, 23 I attempted suicide the second time, or first time, 33 I attempted suicide the second time. Real deal attempts. And when I would go to that dark place, my self-talk and loop would be, you're not good enough.
Yep.
You're worthless. You should just kill yourself.
But can I just add something?
Yeah.
Here? Sorry to interrupt, but
Absolutely.
This is a good example of what you were saying, though, because he was still saying those things out loud as part of his speaking, as part of his message, and so you were reliving that trauma in a pretty strong way all the time and bringing it back up, like you were saying when you're saying these things out loud.
Yeah, because like what you were saying before we started the show, trying to help people through their darkness and their hopelessness, I would go back to that place and relive it, especially when I was in a middle school or high school, and I've spoken in hundreds of those, and where someone come up and share how my story impacted their life, and then they would go to their dark place, and I would like jump in that dark place with them.
Yes.
But since my second time at treatment, like Amy's noticed it, and so many people in my life have noticed that when I share it differently. I share it as this happened, but I don't necessarily go back to that place and my lip quiver and start welling up with tears and all that, which,
like I am right now.
Yeah.
Well, hearing your story just touches me because I know what that's like. First of all, to be bullied in front of people and being told worthless, and then also letting that get to you to such a point where you actually even consider taking your own life and then attempting. And I also have an uncle who killed himself, so that it just cuts deep. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you write this book or are writing this book and what you want people to get out of it, what would be, at least if you could speak to the power of it, of saying it out loud? Is that something spiritual? Is it just hearing it and that's the physical side of it, or psychological side of it? Do you think there's different components of it where because you speak it out loud, maybe it has more power or validity, or just something, your own voice hearing it and it's you speaking it instead of just in your head?
Yes, it's all of the above. What I want people to understand is that most of the voices in your head don't belong to you. Most, especially you're worthless, you're this, you're no good, you're ugly. That's not your voice. I want people to get to the voice of God within them, because we all have the voice of God within us. And I think about during my addiction where I was just like, I was using cocaine like 5-6 days a week, like 4 o'clock on the dot, just would call my dealer right after. I would be seeing clients all day, helping them live their best lives. And then at 4 o'clock, I'd call my drug dealer and be like, okay, I'm going to meet you at the Whataburger on Ben White. This was my life for about 4 years straight. Okay. And no matter what, I would be driving to meet him. I'd come back, I'd pour out my bag, and I could hear this voice, Vasavi, this isn't you. Vasavi, you're better than this. That's the voice that's always saved me. But I just never listened to that voice because I had the voice of addiction. I had you need this, that you're just held by this addiction, But I would say that the thing that has brought me to this point is that voice of divinity inside of me that every single one of us has. I don't care how broken you think you are. We all have that voice. And even in my addiction, I would be high as a kite and I'd be talking out loud, and I could distance myself from what I was saying. And I'm like, you're high as a kite right now. Like, what are you even saying? Like, I could tell that who I was being was not the real me because it just felt so fragmented. And the power of saying it out loud is that you get to purge. In a way, it's like it's purging, right? You're purging all these voices in your head that don't belong to you. So you can sift away and then finally get to the truth, which is like buried deep down here, So in acting class, my acting coach, Mona, always said that creative spirit.
Mona Lee.
Mona Lee?
I do.
I love Mona Lee. Mona Lee said this to us in acting class. She said, creative spirit, the muse, God moves through you, right? We are a conduit. But God or the creative spirit cannot move through you if you're clogged up on the inside, right? It's like the Drano commercial. I'm a drain, right? If I want water to move through me, I can't be clogged with hair. I can't be clogged with all that junk. I need my version of Drano. Say it out loud is like my version of Drano. We want you to be clear. So whatever messages you're receiving, whatever ideas you have, for you to be clear before a fight, you know what I mean? You want to be clear. You don't want to be clogged up with all these thoughts that are just not going to serve you. That's why we say it out loud. All the things that you hate about yourself, all the things that you love about yourself, right? I mean, a lot of the women that I work with in my Say It Out Loud group, we're now on week 4. They're all now at a place where they're like, yes, I'm amazing. I am good at what I'm doing. Like, they're finally starting to realize how amazing they are. But it's taken them 4 weeks to have to purge all the shit that they've been believing about themselves, which is not true. So it's like this, when we need to go to the bathroom, we just go, right? We don't just sit and hold it in. we don't want to get constipated. I look at say it out loud as our way to release that so we're not emotionally constipated. That's just that's just the metaphor I got to use. It's just like, why would we keep that stuff inside? We're literally clogging up our vessel, So.
Yeah. And not to get into it too deep, but my dad just had two major heart surgeries after 2 heart attacks, and he's got 8 stents put in his heart, and all 4 of his arteries were 80 to 99% clogged. Jeez. And last Monday, I was with him, and after the surgery, they asked him, I think they were assessing his pain. How do you feel? He said, and this is less than an hour after surgery, he said, I'm an 8 out of a 10. And they go, oh, wow, you're in that much pain. He goes, no, 8 out of a 10, I can breathe again. And I was like, see, Dad, like getting those blockages out of there. Now you have more oxygen flowing to your brain, your body, like everything. Like they needed to do this.
Yeah.
Like be grateful. Find a moment to be grateful.
Yeah.
And so he did. And he had another surgery yesterday for 1 more stent. And he says it was a success and he was already feeling and breathing better.
Yeah.
But just thinking about relating that to what you were saying, the blockages and the drains and all that stuff, it's like, man, he's been walking around for however long with 80 to 99% of his arteries, all of them, like completely clogged.
Jeez.
And no wonder he's had multiple strokes and his brain wasn't getting oxygen. And, so anyways, I'm relating it to my life and how many more blockages do I still have? Probably will for the rest of my life in certain areas. And I can start to unblock it one blockage at a time, I guess, and just remove those so that more of a conduit to where things are more freely flowing and moving and allowed to go through me and into this world.
So here's how you can test that out, right?
Yeah.
When you just said, I wonder how many more blockages I have, before a big fight or while you're training, really pay. And I do this all the time. And we're constantly having thoughts. It's good to purge. It's just purging. It's like going to the bathroom, but you're doing it with your thoughts as you're getting ready for your fight, as you're preparing. Maybe you're on Instagram and you see your competitor and you're like, you have thoughts like, oh, he's going to kick my ass. Whatever the thought is, say it out loud. And that shows you where you're at. That shows you what's still stopping you, right? I hope you don't mind. I'm giving you this advice, but it's like we all need this.
I'm here for it.
We all need this for ourselves. Yeah, even before I came here, I was like, oh my God, I got gas. Am I going to be a good interview? And I was like, Vasavi, relax, just show up, be yourself, you'll be good. So I said that out loud because it was taking up my mental space. I don't need that in my head when I'm here and I have a job to do. Right? I'm here to help people share my story. I'm here to have a conversation. Same thing with you. When you're out there in the rings, is it a ring?
It's a cage.
It's a cage. Yeah. When you're in the cage, like you're there for a reason. This is what you were born to do. This is what you love doing. You want to make sure you are extremely clear. And so leading up to that day, start saying out loud all the little things because it's there. It's so there just in the back, but it's just there. But we got to get it out. So it just gets out of us. And then we're going to be like, that's not true. That is not true. I'm not going to talk like that about myself. Yeah. You get to be the mother, the father, the therapist, the coach, the healer, all for yourself.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I really, really like that. This will sound like a big left turn, but does Vasavi have a meaning to your name?
Yes, it means sustenance. It means to sustain. Ooh. And it's funny because I was telling Amy in this season of my life as I am calling in the one, I've had to learn how to sustain like myself, right? And be the man for myself that I want. Yeah. So sustenance, I think, is great because to sustain has been difficult for me over the past few years. I would say the past 9-10 years of my life, it's been difficult for me to sustain anything because of my own mental health, the relationships that I was in, my self-talk being shit, it's been hard for me to be stable. And so now I finally feel like I'm living my name. I'm sustaining peace within. I'm sustaining encouragement. I'm sustaining joy. I'm sustaining compassion for myself, empathy for myself. I have a bedtime. I have a rise time and I stick to it. And I'm building that trust with myself because I lost it. That's where
really
I'm at.
Good.
Thank you.
Could another word relating to Vasavi be nourishment, sustenance?
Yes.
Sustaining? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And just thinking of that, of how like now you're your own nourishment because you've been that to so many others.
Yeah.
And what you do and how you give.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty cool.
But I have to say the blockage that I've had to work through is I am selfish for putting myself first. Like I've been, I had a girlfriend who wanted to come over the other night, and I said, girl, I can't. I got to be in bed by 9. I have Barry's boot camp at 7:00 in the morning. And for me, that's hard because, of course, I want to be there for my girlfriend. She lives down the street. Of course, I wanted to come over, but I had to check in. And it's like, am I going to say yes because I want to be a good friend, or I don't want her to think I'm a bad friend? Am I selfish for saying, no, I like have my little wind down routine. I'm in bed by 9:30, 9:00, and that's what I've had to work through, that it's okay for me to be the center of my universe for right now. It is. It's okay, right? I mean, I'm giving myself that permission every day. This is very new behavior for me. I want everyone to know this because I think it's a lot of times it's easy to see someone in this chair and be like, they have it all figured out. No, honey, no, I don't. It's been a month since I've been so consistent with myself. And I've been getting up to this point where I'm like, okay, it's time, Vas. Like, you got to really take care of yourself and be the man for yourself that you've been seeking. Yeah.
FightForTheForgotten.org. You can go check out Fight for the Forgotten, the foundation that I started. It is my passion project. It is something that I love so much because of the people we get to help. We get to help the pygmy tribe who adopted me in help themselves. We say opportunity is greater than charity. Charity can be great, but opportunity is just always better. That's why we've drilled something like 80 water wells already, providing over 30,000 people clean water. We've started sustainable farms, bought back over 3,000 acres of land for the people who originally owned it, put it in their name. We built 32 homes, and now we're about to start a health center, a school, and a marketplace. They're going to have a maternity ward, a pediatrics unit, and a dental suite. You can join the Fight for the Forgotten Fight Club at fightfortheforgotten.org. We would love, love, love to invite you on this journey to join this fight arm in arm with us. Our fight club, it's a monthly giving club. You can give $5 or more a month, and that empowers us to empower people. Thank you for being on this journey with us. I invite you to come along for the ride. It's been absolutely epic, putting love and compassion in action and fighting for people. Fightfortheforgotten.org. Join our fight club.
Well, I mean, I have a magazine right here with your beautiful self on the cover.
Thanks.
And saying Living Out Loud.
Yeah.
And I think there was also, oh man, I'm slipping on my research I did, but
It's okay.
you were on VH1. There was some magazine. What magazine was it?
So
another magazine that you had.
I don't know if you know the magazine. I was on Basketball Wives, VH1.
Okay.
I coached Tammy Roman. They invited me on for to coach her on her anger management. Yeah.
Or Wall Street Journal.
Wall Street Journal. Yeah. I was interviewed on Wall Street Journal about oversharing.
Okay.
So we talked about oversharing that. That was years ago. Yeah.
The reason I brought that up was just because, you can see that you've done a lot of stuff and you were talking about, I don't even know necessarily how to say what I do, but I guess my question is, who are you? Like, what do you want to be in this world? How do you want to impact? What imprint do you want to leave?
That's a very loaded question. Let's try to, let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Okay. So first and foremost, who I'd like to be is, I would like to be completely used up by the time I'm gone.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah. Whatever I'm meant to do, which will unfold, and I divinely trust that whatever I'm meant to be will happen. So just keep listening to that voice of God. I don't want to, my dad always says, and I know this is a famous quote, whenever you make plans, God laughs, right? So here I am making my plans of who I think I should be, and God's like, no, you're going to do this instead. So for me, at this point in my life, I want to listen to that voice. So right now, that voice, my higher power is saying, keep doing my acting and voiceover work. Keep doing these interviews because I jive really well with people when I'm just asking or being asked questions and having dialogue. So I'm doing that. I'm running my Say It Out Loud women's group because that's really how I get to still be like with my clients and just like be in these small circles, virtual circles, of course, doing our, Say It Out Loud. I use
Can people join that on your website?
Yeah, they can go to my website, vasavikumar.com.
Okay.
The Say It Out Loud group, you'll actually appreciate this, is my version of the 12-step program.
Okay.
So my entire Say It Out Loud book was inspired by the 12 steps. So the very first step of saying it out loud is to admit where you feel powerless. Admit it out loud. Everything else after that is my kind of methodology of how to purge yourself and how to have that emotional sobriety and also that freedom of using your voice. So I'm doing a lot of things right now to circle back. So I'm writing the book that's taking up so much of my time, and it's pushing against all of my beliefs about myself that I'm crazy. People won't understand what I'm saying. I'm a crappy writer. I mean, it's forcing me to have to embody what I preach, which is when I was writing, and I'm still writing because we're in the first round of edits, I heard myself saying out loud, I said out loud, Vasavi, what are you trying to say in this chapter? And then the next voice was, no one's going to understand what it's like. I had to work through my own blocks. I had to say it out loud as I was writing this book called Say It Out Loud because I had so many blockages. I had so many voices in my head telling me I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So lots of different ways, lots of different things that I'm doing to use myself up. Acting, voiceover, a little bit of comedy, keynote speaking. I just got booked for a speaking gig at Indeed.com in 2 weeks.
Cool.
Yeah, huge. Doing these podcast interviews and what else? Yeah, that's it. Just out here just doing what I'm being told to do and listening, finally being obedient.
If you've been doing this stuff for a month, really consistently, you say, what do you think when you look at this cover? What do you see?
I'm going to say something that may come off as arrogant, okay? And maybe I shouldn't preface it. When I see that, and that was just 2-3 months ago, I'm not surprised because I've always known, like, God always told me you're special. Like, don't screw up your life. I'm here. I'll give you anything you want, but you gotta love yourself. That's the one voice that I've always heard. It's like, I'll give you whatever you want, but I need you to show me that you can handle what I'm about to give you, you know? So I'm just listening and just being grateful for what I do have and I keep using the word obedient and devoted to this, you know, everything that God has to offer me. When I see that, I'm not surprised. At first, I was like, oh, you know what I mean? But when I see that, I'm not surprised because I've always known. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like when you win a fight, you've prepared for it
Yeah.
internally. You've prepared for it physically. I mean, you win internally first. My tennis coach always used to say, step onto that court like you've already won, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I see that cover on the magazine, it's like, yeah, I know that. I know that that's going to happen.
The guys I worry about whenever I coach or I'm in the corner of a fighter are the guys that go in there and I don't want them to be overconfident, but I don't want them to be thinking that like, oh, I don't have it. This guy's better than me. He could end it at any time. Like that kind of thing. You're beat before you get in there.
Yeah.
You got to be in there and be surprised if you lose, not surprised if you win. You want to win and know, oh, I was going to do this the whole time. And so, no, and Amy and I actually just went and watched my mom play tennis. She was in the finals. She lost in the finals in like Waco. She drove down from Dallas and it was awesome because actually, I think both her and Luis, her mixed doubles partner, were both talking to themselves, saying it out loud, just like your dad.
Listen, Andre Agassi, in his memoir, he talks about how one of the things that he's done to, you know, obviously get himself to the, you know, to be the tennis player that he is that he talks to himself out loud. I'm not crazy. No. I'm not crazy. You got to talk to yourself out loud because it's like whenever I'm frustrated or when I'm working on, we're doing mountain climbers, I literally will say out loud, even though the music, I'm like, come on, Vasavi, you can keep going. Like I need that motivation. I need that voice that's telling me to keep going. And I got to say it out loud because it's like a full body experience, right? It's not just circling in my head. I'm saying it out loud. I'm embodying the coach for myself in that moment. Yeah.
Well, and just one of the moments I was thinking about was my mom tried to lob it over her opponent's heads and it wasn't high enough. They were able to return it. And she's like, come on, Terry, over their head. Then the next time she lobbed it and it went beautifully over their head and she just nailed it, just perfectly in bounds.
Yeah.
And so, it's so good. Well, so for recovery, for people, I've shared a lot about my story of recovery on the show. Because I actually relapsed after we started the show, had to go to treatment. Luckily, had built up some episodes to go and talked about me going. I have a doctor named Dr. Daniel Amen, and we did a live therapy session on here before I went, and then a recap after I got back. But what do you think you learned the most about yourself through your recovery journey?
Give me a moment.
Yeah. Or maybe what's someone they could really look and examine their life. Like maybe they don't think they have addiction, but maybe they've wondered, or maybe they know they have it, and just some way to be helpful to the audience if they're currently going through it. Maybe it's someone they love going through it. I know I'm giving you broad strokes here, but
it's okay. I'm gonna just riff and see whatever comes through. I feel like in my recovery, I've learned a few things. One is I learned that I looked outside of myself a lot for validation, and that my insides only felt better when my outsides were okay. So that was something I really had to work on. Like, I needed you to be this way for me to be this way, right? I need you to be okay in order for me to be happy. So I learned that about myself, and that's why I'm so self-centered at this point. And I mean that in a healthy way. Like I'm going to be okay because I'm okay, not because you're okay. Like I want everyone hearing this, is like whatever you're reaching for, it can be anything. It can be porn, it can be gambling, it can be food, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. Just, I'm not telling you to give up anything. I'm just asking you to pause the next time you reach and just ask yourself, what am I hoping that this will make me feel like? Because if you can learn to, or at least give yourself a fighting fair chance to give yourself that feeling, try to generate that feeling from within, you're unstoppable, right? You're unfuckwithable is what I say. I don't need you to make me feel good about myself. I can feel good about myself. And once you know how to generate your own feel-good feelings, no one can take that away from you because you are the source.
Yeah.
So that was huge for me. That was huge.
It's really good.
Thank you so much. I also learned I played victim a lot when it came to my relationships with men, especially. I had a very sexy story about why I was treated the way that I was treated, and men always do this and men always do that. And I was like, wait a minute, Vas, it takes two to tango. So I learned that I had created a lot of narratives around why my situation was the way it was, why I'm single, why I'm, you know what I mean? Just
what was the sexy story? What's that?
It's just, you don't understand. Men just see that I'm like so amazing and they just want to be around me, but they don't really love me. Like they just use me. I'm just so amazing. I just attract all these losers. And it's like, wait a minute, Vas, why are you drawn to men who you perceive to be as losers? What do you get out of that? Right? And it's like, oh, I don't want anyone to have power over me. That's what it is. So I pick men that are not my equals. That's what I do. I pick men that are not my equals, and then I blame them for not being on my level. Like, these are the stories that I've told myself. Therapy has helped with that. I've subconsciously choose the people in my life so that I can maintain my independence, and I don't have to actually be vulnerable with anybody. And that way I won't ever get hurt, because that's painful. So that I would like to also offer that to your audience as well, is the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your relationships, not just romantic, but your friendship, but most importantly, the relationship that you have with yourself. And it's an everyday process. And that's why self-talk and saying it out loud can tell you exactly where you're at in terms of how you relate to yourself. Another thing that I will recommend everyone listening to do, and if you resist it, that means that it's really probably good for you to do it, is stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. And I just want to share a quick story why I do this. In my addiction, I went to the bathroom in the dark. I took a shower in the dark. I never put the bathroom lights on because have you ever stood in front of the mirror bugging out, high on whatever? Like, it's not a good look. It doesn't feel good to stare back at yourself. So now I look in every window reflection. I look in the mirror every single day. I smile at myself. I talk to myself because I can't lie to myself about how I feel. Like, if you want to know your relationship status with yourself, look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Period. So I would say this to everyone watching and listening. If you're like, where do I start? How do I know what my relationship is like with myself? Stand in front of the mirror and start saying out loud all the thoughts that you have as you're looking at yourself in the mirror. And matter of fact, stand in front of the mirror naked. That's the most vulnerable you can be. And just whatever you're saying about yourself in that moment, say it out loud. And that will tell you exactly what you need to work on and where you're not being kind to yourself. Yeah. So mirror work for me, self-talk.
I like that it's that the mirror work's even kind of a callback to your father, looking in the mirror, telling himself he's handsome. And I want to say, I want to say something about my father, because I know you mentioned yours. My father has progressive supranuclear palsy. It's like atypical Parkinson's, okay? And so he has a tendency to fall. Not anymore, because my mom is always holding him. And
he basically his mind has no control over his body. He's extremely stiff. I mean, for him to sit down we have to literally like push his hips in for him to sit down. And it's very sad for me because I believe that all disease starts it's like a disease of the soul and the spirit. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you so stiff? And I was telling my mom the other day, my father always gave the space for everyone else to say how they felt out loud. And he was a very safe space for me, my father. But he never gave himself that same permission to say how he truly felt, like his pain, his anxiety. He kept everything inside. And I feel like what he's going through right now is really him just stuck.
Decades of that.
Decades of just stuck emotion. And so I just want everyone hearing this. It's like you are worthy of saying how you feel out loud. Like even if nobody's there to listen to you, at least you listen to yourself, right? Like I don't want to say it's too late, for my father, because who am I to determine if it's too late for him? But this is a progressive disease, so it's not getting any better, and there's no cure. But if there's anything that I can share from just watching my father is like, you don't need to be this person that's just on for people. Like you also get the space and the permission to say how you feel out loud too. Like be the person for yourself that you are for everybody else, which is beautiful, kind, empathetic listening. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you talk about him having a progressive disease, we can also relate that to addiction. It being a progressive disease, normally it always gets worse, not better, or at least with age, if you don't stop. And so there's been ways that I've related it to, there is no cure, like what you just said about your father's disease. There's no cure, but there is healing. It's almost like a broken bone. Like you heal up stronger than before, but it doesn't mean that won't get broken again. And so you have to protect it. You have to safeguard it. And what are some of those things? You've talked about your habits. You've talked about your routines. What are some of those ways that you've pursued healing? Not necessarily a one-time fix cure. It's not a magic pill or magic potion for addiction, but what are those practices and what's been most helpful to you in your journey so that you can be who you are now with just joy?
Thank you so much. Well, you might be surprised by this, but so first of all, I schedule everything in my calendar. Okay. Everything, like even coming here, it was in my calendar, my clients, but I also schedule my fun, my creativity, and my play.
Nice. Because
I don't think we prioritize our play and our joy as much as we do making our money, coming on the podcast interviews, doing all the things, on the outside. While I love being here, I wouldn't be who I am today sitting in my joy. You know what I did yesterday on a Monday, y'all? I went to the Grease sing-along at Alamo Draft House and by myself I John Travolta, Olivia, you can't go wrong on a Monday, #movie Monday. My point is I prioritize that. I look for things that are going to make me feel happy and things that I really want to try, like whether it's an art show, pottery class, and I put it in my calendar. I prioritize my fun, my play, my creativity, my socializing with my friends as much as I do the things that have validated me in the past, which is my success and my achievements and all that. See, like, it's fine if I want to do all that, right? Like, I want to do the interviews. I want to work with my clients. But like, I have to have fun when I'm doing it. Like, everything needs to be fun for me. Even grocery shopping, I believe, can be so much fun. So what I want everyone to say, especially if you're in recovery or you're going through a breakup and you're just in a funk or whatever's going on, is I know it may feel hard and heavy, but if you can just try to get like one thing on your calendar that just is just fun. Yeah. Like, and I know that your mind's going to be like, this isn't fun, this sucks, but like here's the thing. Self-love is so easy when you look good, when you feel good, when you're feeling yourself and you got biceps and you've gone work and whatever. Self-love is so easy when you're feeling yourself, but the real work begins when you hate yourself. Can you love yourself when you hate yourself? And so in my recovery, after my breakup is extremely painful, that's when I was just like, I'm done sitting here wasting my life because I don't have a relationship or because of this, or I don't have as much money as I want, or whatever the story was. I'm like, I needed to take charge of my own happiness. And one of the first things that I did, don't laugh at me, Justin, was I Googled how to love myself. I didn't know. Who teaches us how to love ourselves? No one teaches us. And the first thing that I started doing, because I read this article, it was like, start your morning with water. And that's what I already knew this stuff, but sometimes we just need a reminder, right? And so what I want everyone listening and watching is, if you've been listening to the podcast and scrolling through the Instagram and you have all these ideas of things that you want to do, start doing it. Like stop curating the life that you want and actually start creating it by taking the actions. A lot of times we just like save these inspirational posts. Stop saving them and start being it. Like and I promise you, day by day, it will get better.
Yeah, I think one of the things Dr. Amen told me that was so helpful. I mean, before I went to treatment, he said, Justin, you should know that asking for help isn't the weakest thing you'll do. It's one of the strongest things you'll ever do.
Yeah.
But after that, he said, Justin, I really believe if people just drink more water, ate healthier, and got more sleep, that their life would be completely different. 90% of people, it would change their lives. Just drink more water, eat better, and get more sleep. If you just do those 3 things, and then he added some more in after that. But I was just like, wow, we think about it so much, and we're always thinking about the newest thing, the trendiest thing, the sexiest thing that we can do instead of just being consistent on it. And when I'm saying that, Amy's probably nodding, looking at me.
I mean, we hear so many people with all these hacks and all these life things, and you got to take this 8 supplement stack, No. I'm like, that is so complicated, but it's really, we can just make it a lot simpler.
And you know what? That breaks through the belief that I think a lot of people have about themselves. I'm speaking for myself as I'm complicated to love. That's been my one of my narratives is like, I'm just too much. Like, I'm just too much to love. I'm just too difficult to love. And the more I'm in my consistency and with my rituals and my habits, I'm like, I'm like a simple bitch. Like, it's so easy to love me, boss. Like, I mean, like, literally, I just need my little iced latte. I need my workout. I need my water. I need to be in bed by 9. I mean, I know what it takes to keep me happy. But we are so focused outside, and then the people outside of us don't know how to love us, and they make us feel, or it reinforces that narrative, I'm difficult to love. It's like, no, sometimes you just have to shut out all the noise and just, like, start with the basics. Like basics. Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have food in the fridge? Do you have water? Do you have a bed to sleep in? Can you go to bed at a certain time? Can you put your phone away? Just be with yourself. If you do,
you're wealthier than probably 75% of the world.
Yeah.
And so be grateful.
Yeah.
Maybe you can riff on this a bit, because someone with your background in special education and social work and being a therapist, I started a nonprofit, so I think I can relate in this way. Being quick to love. You're probably so quick to just love anyone around you.
I am.
And I can see that, how quick you were to love Amy and I.
Yeah.
But how can you translate that, being quick to love someone else, into being just as quick to love yourself?
I'm going to say I haven't mastered that.
Yeah.
The quickness at which, like, I just met y'all, I just fell in love, and I was like, I want to be around you guys all the time. Wow, that's such a good question. I don't know. How do I do that? Well, it's just practice. Now that first thing is you pointed it out. So now I'm aware of it, right? I'm aware of it now. It's like, man, I'm going to be thinking about that throughout the day. It's like, yeah, I just embraced them with open arms. There was just no barrier. I told you all about my gas. I go, listen, this is what's going on. I just talked to y'all like I've known you forever. I'm just open. So I think for me, what's coming up for me is like that openness, like to just like, hey, here's who I am. How can I extend that same open heart towards myself? I'm now aware of it. So, I mean, second episode coming up where I talk about, how to be quick with myself. But I think it's just pausing for me. When I first met you guys, when you guys came in, I didn't pause before I even gave love. I just gave it. So I think what's coming up for me right now is stop hesitating and stop withholding love from myself.
And recognizing that you're capable of it too.
Yes.
This shows you, I can do that. Okay. How can I implement that here?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's oftentimes a worthiness issue, because we think other people are so worthy of love right away.
Yeah.
That we'll give that. Like right when we came in the door, we were hugging, and and it was nice. It was sweet. It was kind.
Yeah.
But extending that same kindness and knowing that each of us ourselves are worthy of that quick love or that kindness or that open heart, because I think sometimes, at least me, I deal with guilt and shame and other things that whenever I mess up, it's okay if other people mess up. I'll be quick to love them, quick to tell them it's okay, quick to forgive, quick to all this other stuff. But whenever I do it, I neglect myself of that, or I feel undeserving of that, or if I spoke it out loud, it wouldn't be I would be my own worst critic. And anybody else that spoke that way to themselves, I would probably stop them like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Be kind. Like, that's not true and all this, but I can turn it on myself so quick and feel like I'm deserving of being a punching bag in those moments of, let's say, relapse or speaking unkindly to someone else or showing something else besides grace, love, kindness.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm going to be thinking about it too. How can I be more gentle with myself, more kind to myself?
Well, one thing that's coming up, I don't know, maybe you relate to this. Man, this actually just came up. I've been talking about this with a lot of people in recovery is I think, how do I want to say this? I'm so afraid of ever going back to being the person that I was. And I'm vigilant with myself. I'm a lot more vigilant and rigid with myself than I am with other people. Because I don't ever want to go back to the Vasavi that I was. I love her. I know she was going through some stuff. I forgive her. She forgives me. We've had a moment, many moments. I've talked to my inner child. She forgives me. I said we're safe. But I am vigilant with myself and rigid because I know I have the power to destroy my life. I'm literally that powerful. I can destroy my life like that. I know exactly what to do right now if I wanted to destroy my life and throw it all away. And I'm just in the season of creation. And so, if I need to be extra rigid and vigilant, I will. But to your point, can I be gentle and determined with myself? Why do I have to kick my ass? You know what I mean? It works. It does work for me. I know, but maybe we try a different approach and we still be, I can be vigilant. I love being vigilant. I'm ruthless. I'm relentless. I love that when I set out to do something, it's like, in my addict days, if my dealer wasn't available, I had 3 more that I'm very resourceful. Like I always say, like being an addict comes with its perks because we know how to get what we want. Yeah. Oh, you're unavailable? No problem. I got 3 more. Like I'm persistent. How can I channel that into this creation of Vasavi 2.0, Vasavi 3.0? So, but once again, to your point, I'm going to also, how can I be even kinder to myself? What's also coming up is there's a fear that, does kindness mean that I'm letting myself off the hook? That's just something it's just coming up. I don't have a full formulated thought, but it's like, if I'm that gentle with myself, will I resort back to those behaviors, right? Like let myself off the hook. But being gentle doesn't mean that I'm letting myself off the hook. It's just holding myself with regard. Do you get? Does it make sense?
No, it makes sense because you look at guys, probably Michael Jordan, LeBron James, or just the Michael Phelps, the greats, right? Yeah. To get to that level of obsessiveness, they had to be, almost all those people have had to be super critical of themselves and their every move. Yeah.
I'm chronically dissatisfied with myself. And I'm okay with that. I mean, can we just say that out loud? Yeah. My chronic dissatisfaction led to me using a lot of drugs because I was so dissatisfied with myself and hated myself. I had to numb myself. But now I'm chronically dissatisfied, but I'm actually channeling it towards bettering myself. What's wrong with that? What's wrong? If I want to be the greatest version of Vasavi, what's wrong with being critical? As long as I'm being kind to myself and I'm speaking to myself with respect, like I would with anyone else, what's so wrong with that? I don't know.
It's good to think about.
Yeah.
What about guilt and shame? Do you think that both are toxic or can one be helpful? Because I've heard, I think it was at treatment, them saying guilt, the difference between guilt and shame, and you can riff on this or correct me too, but shame is I am bad and guilt is, that behavior was bad or I did something bad.
Yeah. So shame, I mean, as a daughter of a very stern Indian immigrant mom, I'm no stranger to shame. Like if I did something bad, I became bad. I smoked my first cigarette at 12. I don't smoke anymore, but I remember when I smoked my first cigarette, my mom was like, you're bad, right? Like, so it's the difference between that is shame is like, oh, I am bad for doing something. And guilt is I did something bad. Like I did something that wasn't right. You know what I mean? Shame is on the lowest level of our vibration frequency. There's absolutely no point. As someone who's lived with tons of shame in her life, guilt, remorse has helped me. But even that, I'm just like, I'm over it. Like, I'm just over all these, like, feeling like, no, like, it's just like, okay, Vas, keep going. Like, I don't think either is useful. If I had to choose, okay, fine. Guilt and remorse. Shame, I think, is absolutely pointless. It keeps us isolated. It keeps us feeling small. It keeps us feeling unworthy and unlovable. And it's been the fuel for many of my decisions in my life. Guilt helps me stay on my toes and just kind of do the right thing, according to my integrity and my values. But even that, I'm like, I'm done with that too right now, because it's like, why do I have to guilt myself into doing something? Why don't I do something because it's an act of love for myself? Why do I have to guilt myself into self-love or guilt myself into doing what's right? I'm over it too. And I think it's just, growing up in the Indian culture, I mean, women especially, I mean, we have so much pressure to be the perfect wife, to be this. And, Indian women should just be submissive and just, adjust for her man. And I'm over it. So I don't really think there's any place for either. If we can kind of rise above that, I think it would be healthier for us.
Rise above it.
Yeah.
What do you think, I'm curious, what's been one of the things that you cherish the most or treasure the most about Indian culture?
Devotion.
Devotion?
Yeah, it's devotion. So when you go to India, have you ever been?
No. I would like to. I'd love to.
I think you would appreciate it. Y'all should both go together.
Let's go.
I don't know why I'm planning your vacation for you, but we could all go together. I've been going since I was 2. My mom didn't want us to lose our culture. So we're first generation. So my sister and I were born here. So I've been going every year. And what I love about India is like, we're 1/3 the size of the US, but we're 3 times the population.
Wow.
So most of our population's living on the street, right? And I just remember one scene coming out of the airport. We were in Hyderabad, the airport, which is down south. I was probably only 7 or 8 years old, and this little girl, and this little girl comes up, because they all know we're American. We're dressed in American clothes. I'm Indian, but they know we're from the West, right? And she comes over with her little baby brother begging for money, and I just said, I don't have any money. But she's like smiling, and she's still, she's like begging for money, and she's smiling, and it's just like rips my heart open, because I feel guilty. Like, here I am coming from a well-to-do family. Why do you have to suffer? But what I love about India, no matter what temple you go to, any of the Hindu temples, people from all walks of life, all socioeconomic status, just the devotion that we have for something greater than ourselves. You know what I mean? And I think that's why we do peacefully coexist to an extent, because it's, no matter how much money you have or anything, you have that devotion of God. There's just a humility, and there's just a kindness that it's just, you're not soulless. You know what I mean? You have to be devoted to something to keep yourself anchored, right? What are you devoted to? And I just feel like in India, there's just a devotion to God. It doesn't matter what religion, because we have Hindus, we have Muslims, we have Jews, we have Sikhs, we have Jains, we have Christians, but everyone's devoted to a higher power of some sort. Yeah. So it's devotion. It's everything we do is related back to a higher power. So in Sanskrit, which is what all our scriptures are written in, there's a phrase that says Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Atithi Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava. Matru is mother, mother is God. Pitru is father, father is God. Acharya Devo Bhava is teacher is God, and Atithi Devo Bhava is guest is God. So we literally look at, the people that enter our house. We treat them with the same respect we would treat if God were to walk into our house, right? And we treat our mother and our father that way. And I know this doesn't mean like, if you come from an abusive family, you're supposed to worship your mom. It's just, I'm speaking to the devotion. You know what I mean? That at the end of the day, every single one of us are that. In Sanskrit, we have another saying that says, Tattvamasi, I am that. There is no I am here and God is there. I am that. Creator and creation are one and the same. There's no separation. So if we can look at every single person that way, that's why it's so easy for me to just love y'all, because just because you have long blonde hair and just because you have gold metallic stripes and you're thinking, when we all look different, we're all still God at the end of the day, just walking around, just different shells outside of us. So I'm really grateful to have born into a culture where there's no separation between me and the people or things around me. Everything is divine.
Yeah.
That's why it's easy to love. That just came out of me. I don't know what that just came out of me. Great question. Yeah.
It was the divine speaking through you.
I think I've been wanting to say that for a while, and I think maybe I was a little afraid to say it because it sounds blasphemous. Because I know in a lot of religions, it's like, oh, we're here. God is up there. It's like, no, God is not up anywhere. God. We are
right here.
It's right. It's all of it. It's just it. We're all just existing. We are that energy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
What do you think is either a life lesson or anything that you would like to share with someone that's in the process of overcoming? Let's say that they're overcoming one of life's greatest challenges. One of the things we try to say is that, hey, you, me, we have overcome 100% of our darkest days. And you might be in that darkness now, but just know that like brighter days are coming, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that it is available to you now, that you can rise up and overcome. And someone might be thinking like, her story, she's overcome this, that, the other, but I just don't know if I can do it. maybe what would be something you would say to them?
Yeah, what I would say is what I've always said to myself is just do not give up on yourself. Like it's just you will never lose if you just bet on yourself. Like if you just I know it seems so easier said than done because I'm on the other side of the mic sharing the story, and I know everyone's like, "Oh, easy for you to say." I'm telling you, every day, if you can just get up out of bed and make your bed and just brush your teeth, like it just start with the littlest things, right? Just the simplest acts of love for yourself. If you can just do that and then build on that and then just make a promise to yourself that you will not give up on yourself. Some days are going to be like, maybe you were just able to get out of bed, make your bed, brush your teeth, maybe even take a shower, make yourself a nice meal. That would be huge, right? And then there are going to be days where you do that, plus you get to see a friend. And just, you gotta have faith and you have to believe that it's going to get better. And you have to realize that the buck doesn't just stop at you, that there is something greater than you that has never left your side. And that is something you don't need to have to touch it. You don't need to have to see it. You just need to have to feel it. And if you really look at every single thing in your life that you've been through, you've never been alone. You've never been alone, right? Like even in my worst of days, I still had this like thing, it was just like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. You're in it right now, but you're going to get out of it. I don't know when, but you're going to get out of it. And now, I remember, I just want everyone hearing this. It's like, if you can just pause when you're feeling really heavy and just say this out loud, be like, you know what? One day I'm going to be able to help somebody else who's going through the same thing. If you say that, it will take you out of yourself so quick. And also the other thing that I want to say is when you feel helpless, I know this is hard to do, but when you feel helpless, help another person. Even if it's as simple as you're at a red light and you see a homeless person next to you, just give them a smile, acknowledge them. You will feel better. And that will make you feel good about yourself. And then that will lead into the next good action and the next good deed. You know what I mean? Like even in my shittiest days, I can be happy for somebody. And just seeing like a homeless person, it's like, I'm in my BMW at a red light. You're on the side of the street. What am I complaining? You know what I mean? It just puts things into perspective. I'm not saying that what you're going through isn't tough or dark, but it does help to get out of ourselves sometime. And that's what's always gotten me through. And that's what's ironic is that no matter how dark my days were, I still was like coaching other people. I think that's what kept me afloat is being able to, even if my own personal life was a hot mess, I still had this part of me that wanted to help others so bad. So even though I was leading a split life, and please, I don't recommend that to anyone because it will bite you in your ass. Don't do that. I still had this part of me that still had a hunger to help other people. So don't give up on yourself. Realize that you've never been alone. And I know it feels like you may not have had humans, but if you can tap into something bigger than you and just feel that force, it's always been there from the time that you were born. And then also when you feel helpless, help another person. Pick up the phone and call a friend, send a text and say, I was just thinking of you. If you can do that, what you're essentially saying is, you know what? I'm going through a lot right now, but I still have love to give to somebody else. And that will just come right back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have something to give and to offer. I like that.
You're not worthless. You're not worthless. Yeah.
In that reaching out, helping someone else, I just was picturing like have your head on a swivel, looking for a way to make a difference, a way to put loving compassion in action. Where can I give? Where can I serve? Who can I help? Where can I smile? Who can I hug?
Yes.
Who can I love? I like that a lot. And then, Amy, do you have anything? But I also do want to definitely ask some of the things about like where people can find her.
Oh, for sure. We'll wrap up with that and everything will be in the show notes too. So, how do you implement, you mentioned Eastern mindfulness on your website, and like how does that fit in with your daily practices and your consistency?
Absolutely. So I'm going to be straight up. I don't have a meditation practice. I do not sit, contrary to, belief for people just saying Indians sit underneath trees and meditate. I don't do that. First thing I do in the morning is I work out because I have an excessive amount of energy. And so I have to, and I struggle with anxiety.
A moving meditation.
Yeah, a moving meditation. Yeah. So that's exactly it for me. It's like my meditation is being completely present. When I'm doing something, I do that one thing and that's it. Whether I'm washing dishes, I'm going to just wash those dishes. If I'm watching a show, I'm just watching a show. So it's moving meditation, but it's also really being present. And I talk to God the whole time. I talk to God. I'm just like, I'm just having a conversation with this voice that's just so loving and kind. So for me, when it comes to tapping into the supreme consciousness that all of us are, I do that by being present and doing one thing at a time. That's it. I mean, and I respect my body now. Now I do. I respect my body, what I put in it, what I allow myself to consume. I mean, if I don't want to be in certain spaces, I just don't do it anymore. Why am I going to put myself through that? So, respecting the body is respecting the temple that's within all of us, and just being very, very grateful. And then also treating every single person that I meet with the same love and respect that I would if I were to, meet God in person. Like, how would we treat God? You know what I mean? Like, what do we, I mean, like we are it. So it's just, I just want to leave people better off than when they first met me. That's my number one goal. Like my father always said that. He's like, how can you make this person's life better? Just without, and it's usually not, you don't have to do a lot. Most people would just be happy with a smile. How are you? How are you doing today? Just asking someone about them, just being kind to another human being. That's what I call being a good Hindu, right? I'm Hindu, and that's what, we're not really considered a religion. We're a way of life, but it's like, can I treat every single person that I meet, especially those that can't do shit for me? That's what it is. It's not like, oh, what can you do for me because you have these many followers? And I don't care. I don't care. I want to treat every single person that I meet with respect because we are all worthy of that no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how I try to bring that in.
Beautiful.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a lot of stuff in the show notes, but is there anywhere you would want to point people to follow you, check out the books, get anything that you've done in the past?
Yes, absolutely. To get on the wait list for the book, just go to vasavikumar.com/waitlist. You can also send me a voice note, say out loud your name. Feel free to send me a voice note on my on my Instagram. My name is Vasavi is my handle. Literally say, hey, I heard you on the Overcome podcast, and send me a little voice note. Use your voice. I will respond back.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you
for blessing us with your presence, your story.
Same.
And your knowledge.
Thank you.
Your wisdom, the sage advice. This was all really, really good. Thank you. Love your energy.
Thank you.
Your spirit.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please go follow Vasavi. Go send her a voice note. You can also support the show by leaving us a rating or a review and sharing a little clip on your story if you'd like, and we'll share it out as well. So thank you so much for being here. I'm just really, really grateful.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Hey, don't forget to send your Overcome stories to overcomepodcast@gmail.com. And also rate, review, subscribe, and follow Overcome with Justin Wren.